Henry's a pretty outgoing little boy. He loves to joke around and have fun. He plays as hard as he can. But to me, he's probably the toughest little kid I know. When you get into the clinical study, you're just so happy to be in it. You don't understand what other effects that's going to have on your life. For us, since we live clear up in North Idaho, we're traveling every 3 months to Stanford for a 2-hour doctor's appointment. It's taking time away from school, time away from work, and a quick 24-hour to 36-hour turnaround.
Cystinosis is a disease which is caused by a genetic defect that people who carry it do not know they're carriers. But if they happen to marry another carrier, then their children are born with both copies of the cystinosis gene and they have the disease. So their delivery is normal, the child looks normal for the first 6 months or a year of life, and the child starts getting sick, has a lot of dehydration, gets admitted to hospital for dehydration, doesn't feed well, doctors scratching their heads and noticing the child's not growing well. And the parents get more and more worried as they're starting to recognize something's not right. And they often go through 4 or 5 physicians trying to figure out what the problem is, until finally someone twigs the diagnosis of cystinosis, and then treatment starts. Without treatment, cystinosis tends to cause kidney failure by the time a child is 8 or 10 years old. And then, if the child gets a kidney transplant or is on dialysis, over further time, cystinosis causes damage to the nervous system. Severe damage to the ability to speak and swallow and even walk. And so it ultimately is fatal.
I think there's a couple ways you respond to getting a diagnosis like this, and it's either you can sit and wait, or you can try to give yourself some hope. Looking at Henry, the only thing that really stands out that makes him different is his G-tube. So when you put something on your child externally like that, all of a sudden you see it all the time, so you know there's a problem.
That is one thing that he knows feels different, but there's also other things that are coming up that he's noticing. They're hard to accept. We don't know exactly how much to tell him yet.
Whenever I'm running long distances, whether it's in the middle of a marathon or in the middle of the night during a ski event when I'm usually going to bed and have 12 hours left ahead of me, ready to throw in the towel and pack it in, really focusing on what it's about, realizing that this is just a day or an hour or a minute. That pain and that fatigue and frustration is something that Henry and his family live with every single day. The slow-release drug has been phenomenal and done wonders for the life of Henry. That's just one step in the race, and there's a long way to go.
Ultimately, we want to be able to cure cystinosis. So they started off with animal models, where Stephanie has a mouse model of cystinosis. And what they found was that if you take mice who have cystinosis and you then do a stem cell transplant from a healthy mouse, those cells from the healthy mouse start replacing the ill cells in the kidney, in the muscle, in the nerves. And so there's a potential for the actual healthy cells to take over and theoretically cure the condition. Further ahead is the potential to take cells from the person who's ill and fix the gene in those cells in the test tube and give those cells back. And those cells will grow in the patient and start doing the job that the cystinotic cells can't do. And research is necessary to move this along. And the Cystinosis Research Foundation are focusing on getting funds for cystinosis. Otherwise, the odds of getting any research would be close to zero. We're really on the cutting edge, not just for patients with cystinosis, but for potentially any child who has a genetic defect like cystinosis. There are literally thousands of genes in the body that are necessary for life. And we have hundreds of different diseases which are caused by a defect in this gene, or that gene, or another gene. So if we get it right with the cystinosis patients, we could then take that same process and apply it to all sorts of other diseases. So what we're doing with cystinosis could really be the very first cures that could then be spread to other people here and elsewhere throughout the world.